In this video we're going to be looking at how you can use the CRS to publish records in Central. Publishing records in Central through the CRS is slightly different to the way that you published records in Central in the past. Anything that you flag within the CRS as being publishable in Central stays flagged as publishable in Central until Wiley takes the next data dump. When Wiley takes the data dump, the records that you've flagged as Central records will be transferred from the CRS to the live Cochrane Library site and be available for everyone to see. In the meantime, records that you've flagged as publishable in Central will be available for other users of the CRS to see. Publishing records in Central is straightforward in the CRS. If we go to the Browse tab, we can see that there's quite a few records that have this red C down the left-hand side. And what that means is that the record in CRS is flagged as being publishable in Central. Sometimes it will be published in Central because it's been there for a while, and sometimes it'll be flagged as going into the next publication cycle. The records that don't have a red C are not published in Central. And there's an easy way to split out those records and see which ones are published and which ones are not. And that's simply to use one of the filter toggle buttons at the top of the Browse list. So if we click the C button, that will restrict the display down here to all records that are published in Central. And we can look at that by just scrolling down, and we can see that all of the records in this list are now the Central records that our group has put into Central. If we want to look at the records that are not in Central, then we can just click the opposite button, and that shows us all of the records that are not currently in Central. In order to put records into Central, all you need to do is to select the record or records that you want to go into Central. In this case, we'll select at random these three. Right-click on the records and choose the Central menu option from the drop-down menu. There are two options. You can either publish the records or unpublish the records. Well, they're not currently published, so we want to publish the highlighted records. And what that will do is to pop up a little screen. We can resize this screen so that we can see what's going on. Just move it around. It says we're going to publish these records in Central. It tells us which three records we've chosen to publish in Central, and it lets us just scroll through and review them to check that they really are the records that we want to publish. If we do choose to publish them, we simply click on Publish. It asks us to confirm, are you sure that you want to publish the records in Central? Yes, we are. So we click Yes. And that immediately flags these three records as being published in Central. So as far as the CRS is concerned, those records will go into the next Central dump. And we can go and look at one of these records, and we can see that in the audit trail it says that it's to be added to Central, and we can see that it's added an action on the record that we can filter on to look at which records are going into Central. If we want to unpublish records from Central, then the process is exactly the same. Let's choose this record. It's already published in Central, or ready to be published in Central because it's got a C flag on it. We simply right-click, choose Central from the menu, choose Unpublished Highlighted Records, and it asks us if we're sure we want to unpublish them, and we say yes. And that then has taken that record out of the list of records that will be sent to Wiley at the next data dump. So if that record is already published in Central on the Cochrane Library site, it would be removed at the next publication run. If it hadn't already been published, and these three haven't because we've only just flagged them, then it would just simply not send that record at the next publication run. For records that are currently published in Central, we can go and look at those records and see what's happening with them. So if we click on a record, and we've chosen this one just at random, we can click here And what that shows us is the values that are currently published in Central on the Cochrane Library site. And those values may be different from the values that we're holding in our local fields, because the CRS lets you have different values held locally to those that are published on the library. And that's because if different people have the same record within their data set, they may well have different values that they read in from their specialized register. So the values that you see in the record may not necessarily match the values that you see in the central record. What we can also do is click on the button here, and that will take us straight to the record within the library if we've got access to it. So you can see the record that's currently published on the Cochrane Library. The other thing that we can do is to compare values that we hold in our local database, so in our specialized register, with those that are currently published in Central. If our specialized register record is the only copy that's in Central, then the values will be the same. If somebody else has a handle on that same Central record, then they may be different. So we can just click to compare the local values, which is on the left-hand side here, and the currently published Central record values. And what we can see is that there are some very minor differences between the two, and they're accounted for by the fact that there's a full stop at the end of the title here, which is in effect no difference, and that the pages are held locally as full page numbers, and in Central they're displayed as abbreviated page numbers. If we want to, we can take the Central record fields and overwrite our existing record with them. And we simply do that by saying copy all Central fields. So the management of Central records within the CRS is very simple. All you need to do is to flag a record or a set of records that you've read in from a file with a C tag to show that they're going to be published in Central, synchronize your data set, and that's it. At the next publication run, those records will be taken from the CRS and put into Central.